Tampa Theater opened in 1926 as a silent movie palace. It was built at the height of the American movie palace movement by an architect named John Eberson, who pioneered a style he called the atmospheric. So that's why we've got the night sky above with the twinkling stars. And over the years, we've had reports from a lot of our employees and a lot of our guests that maybe he did almost too good a job, that we've got some entities that never wanted to leave.
We like to investigate the Tampa Theater for various reasons. There's a lot of activity here. You know, you can walk through the halls and you can feel it. So anyway, there's a lot of that going on, all kinds of paranormal activity, but it's all good. We've had no negative encounters, and really it's just a fantastic place all around.
I love the Tampa Theater, investigating it because it's large. There's a lot of activity that has gone on here. There's a lot of validation between different groups that have, come here and investigated, and it's just a great place in general.
We've been called the most haunted building in Tampa by some that have visited. There's 5 or 6 different stories that we tell often, but perhaps the most famous is that of Fink Finley. And Fink was our projectionist from 1930 to 1965. So 6 days a week, he was here at the theater projecting films from the booth up at the top of the stairs. Now, he did not die in this building. He fell ill here and collapsed and was taken home by his co-projectionist, where he passed away about 2 weeks later. Ever since then, every projectionist that we've ever had has had stories of things that can't be explained in the booth. Things like feeling a presence in the booth when they know they're the only ones there, or when they go to pull the door closed behind them, it feels like somebody's on the other side of the door trying to pull it open. But the most common story has to do with when we were still projecting 35mm film. Well, the story goes that in that moment of changeover, when they were staring at the screen, they would feel somebody tap them on the shoulder, as if to say, pay attention, it's coming.
You know, here at the Tampa Theater, I've had personal experiences. One such experience was up in the projection booth where I was tapped on the shoulder, and immediately I thought there was something that I rubbed my back on, but I turned and there was nothing there. And we had this meter that measures the electromagnetic field, and one of my other team members brought it up and put it up to my chest, and it went just full tilt. I mean, just lit me up. It was there for about 20 seconds and dissipated. Strange experience. Later, after we were done up there, we went downstairs. Told Jill what had happened. She said, "Oh, that's one of the claims up there." It still gives me the willies just looking back to, did that really happen? But it's all part of the magic that is the Tampa Theater.
Projection, yes. Oh, really? Oh, that's cool. That's very cool. We're near the projection room. It just said projection.
Just a projection.
Oh, really?
Ed's in there, though. I can hear him.
Yeah, I know too. This seems cool.
But it's not just our projectionists. Our guests have also had experiences up in the upper part of the balcony right below the booth that usually have to do with smells. Now, so the story goes, Fink's morning routine every time he got to the theater was to get a cup of coffee and smoke a cigarette on the way up to the projection booth, and then once he was up there, to shave and to dress for work every day. So our guests have reported smelling coffee and smelling cigarettes up in the upper part of the balcony, but the most common one is they report smelling lilac. And for the longest time, we couldn't figure out what the significance was of lilac until we realized that the popular aftershave of Fink's time was a lilac vegetel, a powdered lilac scent. So we think what people might be smelling up there is Fink having his morning shave every day when he gets up to the booth. Now, Fink is probably the most famous. If you were to Google Tampa Theater ghost, he's the one that would come up. But there are others. There is a doorman, a ticket taker, named Robert Lanier, who we think may still be up at the front of the theater. There's a woman in white up in the mezzanine that we believe is the spirit of a young woman who was killed at the intersection outside at Franklin and Polk before the theater was ever built.
But anyway, this is the area where they have seen the woman in white. One of the attendants had seen the woman in white, but when she walked over here, this big, huge, I mean, this thing is heavy, all right? And this thing was spinning like right here in the center of the room.
My favorite story, and the reason that I'm sitting in the seat that I'm sitting in, is the story of the man in the fedora. And it's a story that came to us from our previous marketing director who was here with the theater for about 25 years. She tells the story of coming through the dark theater one day when we weren't open to the public and seeing what she thought was a man in a hat sitting in this seat. And as she looked at him, he stood up and turned around and looked at her and then disappeared. And when she went to look for him, she couldn't find anybody in the building and couldn't find where he would have gotten in because all the doors were locked. So she told the story for years, and nobody else ever really had any evidence to corroborate it until very recently, when the group from Genesis Paranormal was in the building doing some investigative work for an event that we were going to have for Halloween. And they had their cameras set up and their meters and everything right around this seat, and really got some interesting video clips, one in particular of a light anomaly that seemed to move down the aisle and move into the row of seats and then settle over this seat before it disappeared. They also got some EVPs that seemed to be a man's voice responding to questions that were being asked. So I don't know what Tara really saw that day, but there does seem to be a little evidence that there may very well be a man in a fedora who still likes to sit in his favorite seat and see the movies every night.
Now we're at the theater, and we just had a nice incident. It's just me and Adam, one of my team members. We went down with only a flashlight, this little flashlight here. No other equipment, because he wanted to tell me a story about something, and then all of a sudden we sense that there's a presence there, and then he walks over. It gets even stronger for him, and then we see this huge shadow, or I did, go side to side in front of this, because it's pitch black dark, there's nothing else there. There's like, it's something that's painted white, like a tank or something, that you can kind of faint, even in the dark with your eyesight. Once they adjust, you can see it. And then the shadow keeps going back and forth in front of the white thing. I freaked out going, whoa, you see that, Adam? Of course he looks, he sees it. Also, something brushed up against my arm. The hair was standing up on my arms. Probably about 10 foot, maybe 12 foot from the that white little tank or whatever where we were seeing the shadow. And then Adam, I turned on the light, showed Adam the hair was standing up on my arms. So that was really cool, and I can't wait to go back down and with some equipment to validate what had happened to us.
This building is an absolute masterpiece. To walk through it, you're just in awe. You walk into the cinema room where the chairs are, and it's breathtaking.
The place itself is just a historic landmark, and it holds so much history here. It's a peaceful place. I was just telling someone how relaxed this atmosphere is.